Like a sexy robot party, everybody's disco dancing. Like a sexy robot party, everybody's disco dancing.
So welcome back to Thursday edition of Mystique. This week we're talking movies, and seeing that Avengers is already at $1 billion, it's quite appropriate that we're talking summer blockbuster movies this week. The ones we've seen and the ones hopefully Hollywood would make for us if they, got their shit together. For me, the summer blockbuster that actually defined my generation was Independence Day. There was just something about the time period during the mid-late 90s where when Independence Day came out, for me personally, it reinvigorated the whole blockbuster theme of what a blockbuster movie should be. Really big, really loud, and just being able to generate these millions of dollars by having people come back to see it over and over again. I mean, it's pretty difficult these days in Hollywood to actually have movies like that anymore. Because one week the movie would be at #1, and then the following week it would already drop to like 3rd, 4th, 5th place, just like that. But I guess it's one of the realities that the movie industry has to face right now, is that people aren't going to see a film over and over again. Comic book films are fantastic if they're... Now here's the thing though, I love watching comic book movies, except I'm not exactly sure why it's harder for Hollywood to translate a comic book into a movie. I mean, by the sheer premises of it, it should be so easy. I mean, you already have your storyboards and everything written for it. So why is it so hard to bring the pages of a comic book into a script format? If you happen to know the answer or know someone in the industry of why this is, let me know. Because comic books like Y: The Last Man, I think would make a fantastic film. Although I've read that they're in the process of trying to make Y: The Last Man into a television series instead. I haven't read it in a while where they're in the production phase or they're still pre-production or what the cause is, so that's something I have to look up still. To give you a synopsis of Y: The Last Man, if you haven't read it yet, it's about a guy who's essentially the last man on Earth, surrounded by all these women. But Brian K. Vaughan, the author of the book, actually takes a stance where most of the men in the world are the engineers, the pilots, and just various occupations. And when all the men die out, it turns the world into this whole dystopian future that Yorick, the main character, has to fight his way through in order to find himself in this world. And I guess with The Watchmen being a major motion picture, I guess a natural progression for DC Comics would actually to finally take the bulls by the horn and actually make Dark Knight Returns movie. I mean, being able to see Christopher Nolan take Batman to that level of darkness, I can't see why they can't do an alternate universe type Batman. Or in my mind, what Frank Miller did for The Dark Knight is essentially the real future of Batman. I mean, I guess the whole reason why they couldn't make any of these movies in the past, because, I mean, the technology wasn't there for Hollywood to create like the supersized tank that The Dark Knight would drive in through the Gotham junkyard. It's totally possible to actually make it a summer blockbuster as well, because as we've seen with the Dark Knight series, people will go for the dark and gritty type movies as blockbusters. We'll see what Kitty has for us tomorrow. We'll see you guys next week.